feel like Kobe in the fourth quarter.
This is the Dane Moore NBA podcast. We are brought to you by Prize Picks. Coming to you Thursday afternoon. It's July 10th, and we are out here in Vegas for Summer League. Got Kyle Theige here with me. Flew in today. Welcome to Las Vegas.
Can't stop thinking about that Uber ride. It was the hottest Uber ride ever. It was hotter in the car than outside. But yeah, day one. We've been doing this. We're talking a lot of years, right? I think the first year I came to Summer League, as I was telling you before we hit record, was 08 or 09. The Blake Griffin draft, James Harden. We thought Rubio would be here. We didn't really have social media then, so we didn't know that he was just not ever coming over.
That's what reporting was like back then. It's like, I don't know, maybe he'll be here.
Is it go to know? Like, what's going on?
John.
But it's grown so much, but it's also still like the best family atmosphere to bring your family and stuff. And also it's just a really good way to get to know some of these young guys, because we're excited this week. We'll be excited for the next 10 days, but these are still, for most teams, kind of back end of the roster, back into the rotation guys. But I think
Not this team.
The most star-studded starting five Minnesota's had in Summer League in a while, obviously led by Rob and TJ, and we'll get into all those guys, but feels good to be back. Feels good to kind of, we had the break from the Western Conference Finals and NBA Finals and get a little dose of NBA before we really turn our brains off for a couple months.
So I think, it's a Summer League game, but it's the first Summer League game. And I do find this to be like important things that we log away in our mind. Before Jaylen Clark entered the rotation last year, literally all we had to go off of was the 4 or 5 Summer League games that he played last year. I find this stuff to be, informative and instructive, and it's worth just, I think, us going through what happened today in the game, what stood out, and then also just talk a little bit. Let's go like player by player, talk about what they did today in the first game, and then kind of talk a little bit about their role on the team this season. I think Terrence Shannon Jr. was clearly the best player on the floor, best player for the Wolves in that game. But I want to start with Beringer. He's 18 years old. TJ's 25. Like, he had 2 blocks in the first possession of the game, and they finished with 7 blocks. I wrote down in my notes that he had 5 blocks in the first 7 minutes of the game. I didn't have high expectations for Joan Beringer coming into this because he's 18 years old. And he looked, at least in a Summer League context, productive in the exact things that Tim Conley and Matt Lloyd were talking to us about on draft night, of the activity, the willingness to work, to go after the ball. Defensively, clearly he doesn't have a lot of offensive game outside of it, but for the defense to pop that much in the first game, what more could have you asked from Beringer for the first game? I don't know.
Just 23 minutes, but talking to someone from the team after the game, and they said it perfectly. He looked ahead of schedule, right? You know what I mean? Like, because he was developed, or he's going to be a developmental project, and that's kind of when they brought him in. And like, hey, he just started playing basketball a couple of years ago. Like, he's a soccer kid. And just some of the, as you and I were talking during the game, like the blocks are cool, right? Coming across to protect the rim. The offensive game, I think he did kind of have like a little mid push shot from
you're right. His first shot
feet.
Was
the rebounding was one thing that in all the video clips leading up to the draft that Metcalf sent me, like, you didn't really get to a good idea of how his rebounding was. Clearly has great hands, not just catching the ball, but going up to contest and grab rebounds. But yeah, I just think like his fluidity with how he moves. I am not an OT or a PT, but I do like to think I have a little bit of like knowledge of how he just moves like a guy that's like, man, if he just continues to get stronger.
Right.
That was one of his things he talked about with us post game, was like way more physical. Like, I know he's played against adults overseas, but he's like, yeah, it was very, very physical. He fell on his wrist a couple of times, but he just looks like if you just give that guy more reps, a little more strength, a little more conditioning, ahead of schedule is probably what this organization is really happy about, because you didn't really factor him into any of the plans this upcoming season. And again, probably still a far way to go to get on the court. Part of Finch, as he said during one of the quarters, Finch was doing TV, 9 to 10 man rotation next year. But
he said that.
Yeah, I know that's what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So first game, again, he did seem kind of nervous. He's trying to learn so much. They're throwing so much at him. And he showed his best skill. I also just thought he showed some other things. It's like, man, if that gets better, the rebounding, and if he does have an ability to catch the ball, 8 to 10 feet and give you a little something, that's going to be crazy. Because also, too, the lob threat stuff. It's just going to take time for those guys to figure out the timing. But he is the best lob threat this team has had in a really long time at the big position.
Did you notice that he like makes no noise? I didn't want to say that to you during the game because I wanted to ask you. He literally like is just silent.
Yeah,
it's like Jaden. I mean, and maybe it's just because he doesn't speak English all that well, but it was like, I don't know. It just never made any noise. You didn't notice that?
I didn't notice that. Leonard Miller made all the noise in the world. He was talking the whole time. And so was Terrence with fears. But no, I didn't. He's a really cool kid. This is my first opportunity. I didn't do any draft stuff. This is my first opportunity kind of getting to know him and talk to him. And he just, the way Rob Dillingham talks about him specifically is he was mic'd up during the game on ESPN, but also talking to Rob after the game. They just think the sky is the limit for this kid who, again, was drafted, top 20 pick, a project. But if he's ahead of schedule already, you do get really excited about, okay, like, not that there's going to be a lot of scouting for the next opponent, but like, what does he look like on Saturday? Like, can he build off that? Does he give you 6 more blocks and a little more offensively? So, yeah, I thought his durability, too. Again, he fell on that wrist twice. He taped it up at half, but he just kept next man, next possession. So, good stuff from an 18-year-old. I think his first time probably in Las Vegas.
For sure.
They flew in last night at 9 p.m., a 12:30 tip. Like, a lot of things were stacked against them, and I thought he played pretty well.
I did, in all seriousness, write down in my notes, like, I think he must have had really good coaching over there.
Yeah.
And it just, started playing basketball 4 years ago, obviously raw in the sense of that, but also being 18 years old, he's probably going to like over pursue sometimes, going for blocks and that. But I was like, at least what I saw today, I wasn't like, oh, that's undisciplined, or he doesn't know. And even on offense too, I feel like the basics of being a 7-footer were really drilled down to him when he was in Slovenia, right?
Yeah.
I mean, or he's like naturally really taking the game. It looked like a real bench center, NBA center. I don't know if it's a rotation player, but having watched a lot of summer league games over the years, and there's normally got like Yves Missi in this game, right? Like he played and started a bunch for them for the Pelicans last year, who the Wolves played today, and you could tell when you were playing. And I think if I would have dropped down into this game not knowing anything about Joan Beringer, or I would be like, oh, that guy's probably been in. He looks young, but like looks like he's played professional basketball before, which is, I guess, is true. Maybe that's a little bit of the difference of college versus playing overseas.
Yeah, we're talking to Terrence after the game. He did kind of make that comment that in practice, he jumps for everything. Johan's like he does. I think there's still so much for him to learn. But again, that's very understandable for a guy that just picked up the game a couple of years ago. But that was one of the things I wrote down is like, what happens when he actually learns like real schemes and concepts and like plays a couple of years in the league where now you get to like know your opponents more, like, I don't think he's going to shut down Nikola Jokic in the first game if he ever plays him. But like, okay, I've played that guy 3, 4, 5 times. I know some of their tendencies. I think he just has so much to learn still, but that was another takeaway today. It's like, he wasn't that 7-footer that is just all over the place. I mean, he did.
Think about other summer league teams, like, Minot his first year, or even Rob last year. Like, normally when you're 19 and you play in your first summer league, you look more chaotic.
Yep.
Than I thought Beringer looked today.
And he recorded 7 blocks, which again, 13 seconds of Google searching will tell you might be the summer league record for a single game. He might have broken Chet's record of 6. So yeah, he looked controlled. He looked polished. Again, the offensive stuff was very, very limited. They tried to find him on some lobs. The Pelicans, little basketball 101 here, had some really big guys that they were throwing. I thought Derek Queen had a good game. And then obviously Missi, who is an NBA center, right? And that was like a good first test of like, hey man, that guy starts for a Western Conference team. In Missi, like, that's what it's kind of going to be like on every night. And I thought he held his own. But again, he did just have those wow moments that I would imagine Tim Conley and Matt Lloyd and that staff were like, that's what we saw in the Chicago gym.
The wow moment of that. And then they also had the wow moment of Jaylen Clark throwing it off the backboard to himself right in front of the whole Wolves.
That was, listen, we're just going
to office and Finch.
And we're just going to say right now, that wasn't even the best highlight of the game. The best highlight of the game was there was some confusion where Johan gets the ball Kevin Love outlets it to Leonard Miller, who is absolutely just cherry picking. He is the only guy on that side of the court, gets the dunk, and the Pelicans then got a transition bucket.
Incredible.
On a, I guess, 5-on-4 with everyone sitting behind the rim.
And they're the team that lost.
Yeah. We got the full Summer League experience today in day one.
You know, it's too good for Summer League. Terrence Shannon Jr.
Kind of thought that last year too.
Yeah, I mean he's old, and so like you
He's like 25. Yeah,
you take it. I mean, with a somewhat of a grain of salt.
Yeah, in NBA league years, he's 30.
I mean, if he would have been on a team last season, his rookie year, where there was more opportunity, a worse team, right, where he would have had opportunity to be in a rotation, I think he's one of the many first round picks that isn't playing in Summer League this year, just because physically he's got it. And I guess mentally that really stood out to me. He seemed so in control to me, and an understanding of, like, he started the game really as like a ball mover, which, I mean, they were kind of like loading up, trying to take away his drives and stuff. But I kind of thought he might come out and be like, I'm going to try and have 18 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And maybe do it. But he was relatively like passive at the beginning and playing. I wrote down in my notes, like, it looks like he's playing the role that he will play during the regular season. Mm-hmm. You know, it wasn't just because he was the best player. They weren't like, all right, high pick and roll with Terrence Shannon Jr. every time. He played off ball. The way he was asked to play was the way he was asked to play in the conference finals or whatever, in the playoffs this year when he was playing. I really feel like he's looking very much like an NBA rotation player, and I was impressed by how he navigated the game slowly, ball mover, and then opportunities started to come. I think it was in the beginning of the second half. He started dominating offensively, scoring himself. Second defender starts coming over. He's kicking it out to guys, drop off to 7-footers. I mean, he's the best player I've seen in Summer League yet.
And if we look at a box score, he finishes with 20 points on 6 of 14 shooting. The one that's going to stand out is the 9 assists, right? And I think you guys talked about this a little bit leading up to some of the practices, like Coach Hansen and the organization. Like, we want to try to make Terrence a little more of a playmaker, and just kind of, as much as we love Summer League, like, this is a very good opportunity to experiment with some stuff. We saw that with Rob in his rookie year. But back to your point, to be like, that kind of looked like his role once he settled in. The thing that backs that up is he took 9 threes. You know what I mean? Like, and that's going to have to be, that was our thing last year. I was like, I know he can get to the rim, and he had, his fourth in college and getting to the rim, free throw rate. He did lead the team at 6 or 6 from free throws. So, he can get the ball and go downhill. He is a running back. Like, he loves, and this game got dicey and choppy and physical, and you could see him, like, become happier as it started to get a little messy out there, because he just loves physicality. But I do think the part of his game that we have to keep an eye on is, like, can he just hit, catch, and shoot threes? Yeah. Because it's going to be a lot of the ball in Ant's hands, or, Julius's hands, and the stuff that Terrence does here is not necessarily going to be what, like last year's Terrence. That's not what it's going to be like when he actually makes and graduates to, I guess, as Finch is calling it, maybe 10 starters. He's going to have to shoot a lot of threes on the catch. 2 for 9 tonight. Don't really care. Just the fact.
What do you think about his jumper? Like, what is your?
Well, you know how I feel about left-handed people. No, I mean, I was just more happy that he just caught it, because I think his intuition is to catch the ball and he just wants to go.
Sure.
And the fact that he caught the ball 9 times and let it rip, that's all I really cared about. Fundamentals, mechanics, all that stuff. I'll leave that to our guy Craig Kilborn to kind of break down. But just the fact that he took him, like, that's what he's going to have to do, because I do think he's going to get real minutes. And I think Finch and the whole org have been talking about that. And a lot of times he's not going to be the guy, like you saw tonight, leading the action. He's going to be the guy kind of finishing the action. Mm-hmm. And to keep the floor spaced when Rudy is, again, I know we just did a whole thing on Beringer, but it's going to be a lot of Rudy, a lot of Julius, a lot of bigs. Like, can you space enough for Ant? I think that's going to be a huge thing for Terrence.
If Terrence had 50 drives last year where he, like, got to the paint, how many times do you think he passed of those 50? I don't know the answer to that, but like 5, 4, 1,000. Yeah. Like, and sometimes I was like problematic. He'd run into like a wall of people, and you're like, oh, okay, Terrence, like you're very forceful going to the basket, but if there's multiple bigs, NBA level rim protectors out there, like, he would run and crash there. into guys and be a,
Yep.
turnover. And that's why I was like, he got in 2 feet into the paint and was not exclusively thinking, I'm putting this guy through the rim, which he can do. And there's going to be time and place for that. Often that's still going to be his main thing. He's a driver with force there. But once you start getting scouted and respected as that, I mean, it really is just the low man's going to rotate over there. And in the NBA, that's going to be typically like a 6'9", 225-pound guy. So you got to be able to like have a curveball to throw in those situations. Summer League, but I don't know how many curveballs we saw from him last year, and he did today. I can't say anything more about great about it. He looked incredible, I thought, in the first game. And
I'm gonna miss him because who knows? Like at the rate these guys go, like again, that's kind of the unofficial way to graduate Summer League is to just play so well. They're like, hey, you're good. Like you're too good for Summer League. So I would imagine Coach Hansen said after the thing, like, we're trying to win this thing. So they have a mentality where they're going to probably play a lot of the guys that give them the best chance, but also need the development. But yeah, in Summer League, these next 8 to 10 days, if he wants to get to the middle of the paint, he can get to the middle of the paint anytime he wants. That's the downhill nature of being a running back. But I think he was one of the guys today. I don't know if it was Rocco or if it was maybe Jesse Edwards, but he had a nice kind of perfect timing on a lob pass to a center. So that part of his game, again, I would be blown away, and I'll bet you another Porsche if he ever has 9 assists this regular season. But I would, the coaching staff just getting those things out of him so that, hey, when you do get to the lane, at least you're thinking about, could I drop a pass off? Can I throw a lob, rather than just always having eyes for the rim?
Let's talk about Dillingham, but first we'll grab a break. Let people know that today's show is brought to you by Falling Knife Brewing Company, and we want to let you know that the Wolves Summer League games are on the projection screens with the sound on at Falling Knife this summer. So Saturday night, that's Game 2 of Summer League. I think it's a 9 p.m. Central Time start. They play the Denver Nuggets. The rivalry continues. Head over to Falling Knife for that. Some late Saturday night hoops. Falling Knife will be open, and Wolves fans will be there. They'll also have in the Lynx games on as well. The Lynx and Sky have a game on Saturday at noon, so go there all day. Full day of hoops. Get there at noon. Stay till midnight for the Wolves Summer League team. If you're craving some beer and some summer basketball, do head over to Falling Knife. It's your spot for that. That's Falling Knife Brewing Company in Northeast Minneapolis. Today's show is also brought to you by Prize Picks. And want to let people know that Prize Picks is up for Summer League. They had Prize Picks up for Game 1. I wrote down the guys' numbers. Rob Dillingham, his was more or less than 16.5 points. Did he get that? He 13.
He finished with 15 on 4-14 shooting.
Okay, Terrence Shannon Jr. was 18.5 points. He got over that. Leonard Miller was only 15 points. I think that dude's going to keep shooting. He's going to keep doing the, I'm going to drive to the basket, throw it at the backboard, grab my own offensive rebound and score. If Leonard Miller's 15 points, I think he'd go more than on that. Summer League's fun. Do this for fun. It doesn't need to be for a lot of money or anything, but you can put, $5 on a lineup, and it gives you, if you need some more entertainment for Summer League, Prize Picks has that. If you don't yet have a Prize Picks account, all you have to do is put in the promo code Dane when you sign up, and you will receive $50 in lineups when you place that first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com or the Prize Picks app using code Dane when you create your account. Rob Dillingham, Kyle. I'll start in that the thing that's going to pop on the stat sheet, if you didn't watch this game, is that Rob Dillingham had 7 turnovers. As I was just putting my notes down throughout the game, I was really liking the way he was getting them, into their offense. Let's start on the offensive side first. And looked in control, looked like a player who had grown from the last time, 12 months ago, when we saw him out here. Obviously, turnovers is an area we are watching with Rob. When he played last year, as most 19-year-old point guards do, he turned it over too much. I don't think all 7 of those were his fault. I would say maybe 3 or 4 of them were people not catching it in the pocket, not standing where they're supposed to be. So I just say that to mean I'm not freaking out about Rob having 7 turnovers in this game, but I also said that was one of the main things I'm watching with Rob at Summer League. But that's why you got to watch too, right? And not just look at that. I didn't come away from this game being like Rob mishandled the ball egregiously. What'd you feel about Rob?
Yeah, I wrote down 7 turnovers. 9 of them were Leonard Miller's fault. Because there was 2 in a row. They were trying to run a little pick and pop that just the pass maybe wasn't great. Leonard wasn't there, whatever. I actually in real time did not know that he had 7 turnovers. The game was sloppy. Again, like they talked after the game, like the Pelicans really tried to play a physicality, and they picked up Rob full court a lot of times, and like kind of a 2-2-1 type thing. So I think that frustrated Rob a little bit. I mean, we were here for all those games last year as a rookie when he was, 18, 19 years old. He's been in a year. I think he had probably a really trying last 12 months, right? Sure. You go to Kentucky, you're a lottery pick, and then you just don't really play, get really frustrated. You have all those ankle injuries. He just looked today like, I mean, he had his flair back and like his zest. And I just thought offensively, the shot again, kind of like with Terrence. I mean, these guys are TJ and Rob came into the league together. They are the focal point of all of this. And when they get back to Minnesota and this thing kicks off in October, they are going to be very, very much not the focal point. So I think the shots for both those guys are going to be big. But at the playmaking, I know he's not part of the rotation last year, and we figured he's going to be one of these 9 or 10 guys that Finch is talking about there. He's the best passer on the team by a mile. And I think now it's like, Chris Finch has shown to be more of a conservative coach where you have 7 turnovers in a game, and unless you're Anthony Edwards, you're probably not closing that thing. But I just think I believe the reps for Rob are so important. And we go back, and we're recording this podcast minutes after the game finished, but you go back and watch it. I'm with you. I know at least 2 of those were turnovers, trying to run a high pick and roll with Leonard Miller, where I don't think Leonard was exactly where it's supposed to be. There was a weird lob. So I'm not really worried about that. I just kind of want to see not even like the flashy assist, like even if it leads to a hockey assist, I just want to see him with the ball in his hands, get guys good looks. And he said that talking to us after the game. He's like, one of the big things in my game this year compared to last year when I played in Summer League is just understanding the desire and the need and the importance of playing for others. And I thought that was for a kid who just turned 20. Like that was a really mature response. And you can kind of tell he's learned a lot. He's tried to put on a little weight, but now he's like, I know what I need to do and I'm ready to do it.
Look like he put on weight, right?
I mean, yeah, and like again, he's not going to ever look like Derek Queen. Like he's just not going to. But he did look like he's put on some legit weight compared to when we stood next to him a year ago.
I wrote down he had the first 6 points of the game for the Wolves at an and one, and then the second one was a catch and shoot 3. And he's initiating a lot in this setting, so he's not going to find himself off ball. But I think to talk about his role next season a little bit when he's out there, I think that's a really important part of it is playing off of Ant, playing off of Julius, and being a guy that is knocking down high 30s of your catch and shoot looks, and we don't really I don't know if we've seen enough of him to really be able to fully grade him as a shooter. He's definitely not a non-shooter, but I think specifically the catch and shoot part is an important piece of it. I was looking up some stuff on him before Summer League, just looking at different numbers, and he had 54% of his made threes were unassisted last year. Last year when he played. Again, it wasn't like that many games, but that's a really high number. The only players in the league who had more of their made threes be unassisted were Luka Doncic, James Harden, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Trae Young, and Kevin Porter Jr. That's all a type, right? Like those are all sort of self-creation sort of guys, and Rob was too. He's on that list. The same, those are the only guys who had more that were unassisted, and that I think is part of finding the offensive efficiency for him. Is that's his game. Like he can, and they need him to be an off the dribble 3-point shooter, but it doesn't need to be the majority of the threes that you're taking, right? That are off the bounce ones like that. Have that in your bag. They're going to need that at times. They need a break glass in case of emergency sort of guy. And they frankly don't have a lot of those, especially in the backcourt. But I think that's a real efficiency slider for him is is taking good off the dribble threes and really being a knockdown catch and shoot guy, which was probably an evolution for him. I mean, he hasn't been that guy. He's been a ball in his hands type of player, but you're on a team with Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards who are going to initiate a lot. Like, take the easy money is what I think is part of his efficiency leap next season if it happens.
Yeah, I mean, Baby Baguette aside, whether it be TJ or Rob or Jaylen Clark, who I think are the three big guys you're kind of focused on at like the guard wing position. We can talk about Terrence's ability to get to the rim, Rob's handle or his playmaking or Jaylen's defense. To me, all those guys aren't going to see minutes under Chris Finch if they can't consistently hit open shots. I know that sounds really stupid or like simple, but Jake Painting reminded me of this as I was kind of getting ready for Vegas, is that Rob shot 45% on threes at Kentucky in his 1 year on like 4.5 shots a game. So this, again, like what you're seeing from Rob, what you're seeing from Terrence, the ball's in their hands for their usage rates at Summer League is crazy. It's going to be flipped when they get back to Minnesota. But yeah, I mean, you can kind of tell too. I mean, you're way better at this than I am. Like, it seems like Rob has kind of cleaned up his shot a little bit. He used to have that weird kick. There's some times where I feel like he's still kind of throwing a medicine ball at the rim, but I think that'll just come. Maybe that's just shot. But again, if it just goes in, I'm with you. And I think back to like there was that one time where I think he pulled up in transition and took a really bad three. And I think that was maybe the end of Rob Dillingham's rookie season under Chris Finch. So
remember that,
yeah. His shot is going to be the thing that kind of makes or breaks, not his career or anything, but like, because the other stuff was really, really good. Again, 7 turnovers, don't really care. The playmaking, running a team a little bit more today. It seemed like he was really playing like the floor general point guard, and not to just completely transition to the other side, but I think the thing that really stood out to me today, and I don't think I'm like blowing smoke or like grasping at straws. I thought he played, hear me out, awesome defense for what his side, like he gave a fuck. Like he really tried. He had a 3-second call on what was like, or a 3-second, not a 3-second call. He was a 3 seconds in the lane on like a loose ball that he kept fighting for, run around screens, kind of navigating it. He talked after the game a little bit about like kind of learning some of that stuff from Nikhil. So the offensive stuff is why he was drafted. The defensive stuff might have been why he didn't play in year one. And I thought today he really he's never going to be an all defensive player. His limitations are physical in his height and, his short arms and stuff. But I thought he really showed you something today. It's like, okay, if you do that in training camp, Chris Finch will have to give you minutes.
Yeah, the compete level's there.
Great way to put it.
On the defensive side of the, he plays hard. He's picking up full court in the very first possession of the game, and like taking the assignment seriously that you need to play defense hard.
Mm-hmm.
And that, for us, you're gonna be like, oh, that's just a light switch. Just play hard. I think particularly for
someone who went to the Donda Academy.
Exactly, man. And so that stood out to me whenever we talked about Rob last year. We would be like, effort's there on defense. And the coaches said that. We talked to Wolves Summer League coach practice a couple days ago back in Minneapolis. He was like, that was the number one thing that stood out to me about Rob last year was the give a shit factor on defense, from the start. And he talked about, that's not it. Like it's not just that, because I mean, Jason and I always joked about like Malik Beasley's like the worst defender that like tries really, really hard the whole time. It's not that. You got to do specific sort of things. And Hansen talked about he needs to be a little bit more of a nuisance on the ball. He needs to understand that when Ant takes a 3 on the strong side and he's, spaced on the weak side spot, he's the rotation guy back as they kind of do a cover 2 defense, getting back there. Mike Conley does that all the time, right? Remember the LeBron block? There's those sort of things that are small, but Rob doesn't have a lot of margin defensively. So in time, to be a guy that you're like, defense isn't really a problem, it's going to be all these sort of marginal things. And the number one, I think, marginal thing is consistency of effort. And that, to me, screams that has been drilled home to him in the 12 months that he's been here, and something he's embraced. I asked him about it after the game, and he's like, I was never really asked to be like the guy that locked up on the ball on any team I played on before. But, now in this setting, the guy that's bringing the ball up is probably the only other guy on the floor that's around his height. Like, he's going to need to turn guys. He's going to need to get into the ball. He's going to need to do screen navigation. I don't think he's great at all of that right now, but I put a lot of weight in the idea that he's trying to do that. Because there's been plenty of other, even lottery pick bucket getter guys who are just like, that's not my thing. I'm not going to not try, but it seems like he's putting in equal effort on both sides of the ball, and yeah, that's an arrow in the right direction.
You're obviously around him and the team way more than I am, but I mean this sincerely. My biggest takeaway from him was he just seems, again, he can't drink tonight, so I would have to comp him, but I just think he is so much more mature and comfortable than he was a year ago. And again, 19 years old. We kind of saw that from Johan a little bit today. Like, just this is all so much and bright lights. I'm in Vegas and all stuff. But just talking to him after the game, like, he said more words than he ever said last year. But he also just said a lot of the right things. And I think that part about what you highlighted of, I wasn't really ever asked to play defense, really. So that's probably a learning curve. Like, at what point, other than maybe occasionally at Kentucky, like, were you ever asked to really play defense? Again, no offense, but definitely not at the Donda Academy. And the fact that he knows too, like, he's not dumb. Like, all these guys are in his ear. Like, he knows that this is kind of not a make or break situation from this summer, but it's a big opportunity.
Yeah,
because this team, as the 7th highest win projection total for next season, and their biggest question mark still around the league. And I think this will be, as all the major pods and stuff start to do team previews, is like, okay, what are they going to do at point guard? Like, is Mike Conley really going to go 82 games? Like, this is a really big moment for Rob. And again, the turnovers aside, I'd like to see him maybe just drop 25 on Saturday and kind of get that shot going. But his attention to detail on defense, I mean, I know we're going to talk about Leonard Miller in a second. Like, he's like the opposite of Leonard Miller, where he doesn't have any of the physical gifts that Leonard Miller has. I mean, Leonard Miller had 3 blocks tonight, and sometimes it was just, I have a 9-foot wingspan and I'll just turn around and block it. Right. Rob doesn't have, like you said, the margin for him is so small, and he's going to have to really, as much as when he gets the ball in his hands, hey, run the offense, get these guys in their spots, get to the rim, get your scoring on. I think his finishing at the rim could use some work, but I don't know if that's just a continue to get stronger type thing. But on defense, this team is still, with Rudy Gobert and maybe with Johan coming down the pipe, like, they're going to be a defensive identity team. And if Rob Dillingham's a starting point guard, like, you got to give him something. And I thought he gave them that tonight.
Let's combine Jaylen Clark and Leonard Miller. We'll go with Lenny first. And I kind of want to talk about this in the context of, like, if Lenny had to play next year, what does that look like? And that's always kind of been my question with him. And what I've said every time, I mean, basically the only time we talk about Leonard Miller is at Summer League. And what I've always said is, like, until there's a shot there, I think he has to kind of function as a 5, or when we were 12 months ago, we were here talking about, if is he going to be the 9th man or whatever. I was like, well, if the shot isn't there, it would need to be backup center minutes that I think he could functionally produce. And what's interesting about this Summer League team is he's hardly going to play any center at all. Right. There's just so
half the roster
7 feet tall. Yeah. So, I mean, and he really produced in this game, rebounding, looks like a physical force, but the shot isn't there yet. And I'm still isn't there. And so I'm still kind of wrestling with the, like, if X, Y, and Z are injured and Leonard Miller has to be in the game, which, honestly, if you look at this roster right now and Julius Randle rolls his ankle in the opener, you're down to Naz Reid and Rudy Gobert as your bigs. I mean, maybe Jaden plays some 4. Like, there could come a time where they need another big in this thing. And I don't know, I would still say I would feel like I would rather have Lenny, like, in the dunker spot right now, but that's not what he's being asked to do on the Summer League team. He's being asked to be like a wing, a forward, and and drive and space and shoot threes. I'm telling you, man, I watched him at a practice in Oklahoma City shoot threes. Like, we were waiting there for a long time. I probably watched him shoot 60, 70, and the feet weren't kicking. It was just like it was very like set shot, but they were going in, and I was like, he needs that lower body control on his shot. And then I see him today, and the first three he's doing the sea walk again. It's just and that needs to be like, I just feel like that is a really important part for him. Doesn't need to be a 40% 3-point shooter, but I think if he's going to be asked to play and he's going to be playing more forward, he's gonna have to make some of them, or he's not going to be guarded out there, and it's going to be a kind of Kyle Anderson type situation. So really love the production, but the main thing that I'm thinking about with Lenny is like the shot defines the position for him, and the shot is not there right now. Maybe it's the first summer league game, and you're kind of, the energy's big, but like I want to see him square up and hit some open threes, even in this context, that are not with the legs flailing around, because I really think that's going to be the number one thing that gets him opportunity, or not, for this team, because it looks like they're pushing him to be a wing. I think he's got to have to shoot.
Today's show is brought to you by Skims. Skims obviously has an expansive lineup in the women's clothing sector, but they have really expanded their product to the men's side of things, specifically men's underwear. And I've said this before, but what my favorite thing is about Skims is that it's a type of boxer brief that both works for going to the gym and just everyday life. I have the stretch 5-inch boxer briefs. They work functionally a lot like the compression shorts I would wear back in the day when I played basketball, or the compression shorts I wear for running now. But these have the same functionality. They're just way more comfortable. That's what I think is unique about them. You could wear one pair to the gym and another pair after the gym, because they are built for both. Like I said, I have the 5-inch stretch boxer briefs. Those are my personal favorite, but they also have a ton of cotton briefs amongst other styles. And I think you should try and find a pair that works for you. Be more comfortable. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com and at Skims stores, and let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Skims is the official underwear partner of the NBA, WNBA, and USA Basketball. This is an ad by BetterHelp. Did you know that workplace stress is now one of the top causes of declining mental health? It's because 61% of the global workforce is experiencing higher than normal levels of stress. To battle stress, most of us can't wave goodbye to work, but we can start small with a focus on wellness. A holiday is great, but it isn't a long-term solution to stress. Don't forget that therapy can help you navigate whatever challenges the workday or any day might bring. Therapy is helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself, and it isn't just for those who have experienced major trauma. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. It's really convenient too. You can join a session with a therapist at the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, you can switch therapists at any time. Unwind from work with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/DaneMoore. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/DaneMoore.
You gotta talk about his box score a little bit, just because it touched on everything, the highs and the lows. Because I really do want him to be good. I sometimes this is maybe the Hall of Fame of bad comparisons, but I sometimes think of Trey Lance in football. I just wish Leonard Miller could have more reps. Yeah. Right, because he is 21 now, right? Which I know is super young, but between his G League stuff and then just never really getting a chance with this team, which again, I think you at least saw from him today, some of the reasons. I mean, even Coach Hansen said post game, but there's a couple times where I thought Leonard would be in this spot. I mean, Rob
he talked about him like Finch talked about Minot.
Yeah, where Rob kind of got in the paint and just flung a fastball to the left corner, because that's where Leonard's supposed to be spotted up, and there's no one there and just went out of bounds. But Leonard finished with tied Terrence team high 20 points.
Yeah, produced
9 of 11 on twos, 0 of 6 on threes, 9 rebounds, 3 blocks. And I think that's literally the most perfect way to describe Leonard Miller's game right now, is that he did kind of just a lot of garbage stuff, he doesn't have Jared Vanderbilt's defense, but sometimes the Vando stuff, just muck it up, just kind of get a hand on the ball, get a block shot, contest.
That's another pathway for him. But that's what I'm talking about, though. That's like a 5.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
But when you watch, and again, it sounds like we're being hard on the kid. I'm not. It's just I don't watch Leonard Miller and think high energy guy. I mean, do you? mean, he has a motor, but like
Active, I know what you mean though.
Vando like kind of has set the bar for being so high. So I think there's a lot of skill there. And again, you saw that today. But I mean, this is kind of the same thing I just said. Maybe that's the theme of this pod, is that all of these guys, and by the way, all of them are fantastic people, which I think fits the Tim Conley mold of we want to bring in good guys, but they all have to be able to shoot threes because none of these guys, no matter how high they were drafted, whether it be Rob in the lottery or Terrence, all these guys, this is Anthony Edwards' team that has going to have a lot of Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid. And the one thing I would say for Leonard, as we joked about that kind of cherry picking dunk, he does. And again, there's a difference between having a high motor, in my opinion, and liking to get out and run. And one little nugget that I think we should just put a pin in for later this summer and this fall is when Coach Hansen said, and we'll talk about Jaylen Clark, we want to play fast. And he wasn't talking about the summer league team. I don't think. I think he was talking about what they want to do next year and moving forward. And maybe that's another way. Again, if Leonard Miller can just get on the ground for loose balls, I mean, this team every good team needs those just kind of messy guys that kind of muck it up and get on the ground and block a shot and stuff. So
and run. He gets out and runs.
Yeah, and I think that'll be big for them.
I do.
Team that might, behind the scenes, slowly be evolving into that second timeline that we've always talked about. Like, at some point, man, they might just give the car keys to Ant and say everyone around him just take off.
Right. No, I'm with it. I mean, and that's, you look at the statistical profile of the team last year. Finch would talk about all the time. We need to get out and transition more. We need to do it. And I think a lot of that is Ant just being a little bit more intentional about pushing it. And Mike generally plays slow as well. Like, their two guys they're two guards in the starting lineup, don't really inspire fast breaks too often. But sometimes what can is guys getting out ahead for that hit ahead pass. And Leonard is an incredible athlete.
Oh my God, yeah.
And
he's got like Lamar Odom's built.
Oh, dude, he's huge. I mean, and like long arms, wide shoulders. I think that's why initially I was kind of on the like, this might be just like a small ball center, not even that small, because he is so like physically imposing that. But he does have speed. And he does have the ability to run out there, and that does fit the identity of a team that wants to to play faster. But there's still some missing blocks here away from being a rotation player, which we expected.
Yeah.
And it's a hard rotation to crack. I've been thinking a lot about, the bigs, and there's three on the team now. And then you have Beringer, and I don't know. I guess I would put him as the fourth big now if you had to, but I thought about Leonard there too. And I think there's an opportunity to potentially crack the rotation at some point, during this season if injuries come, but it's got to be better game plan discipline, and there's got to be consistency of the shot mechanics, and then keep doing all the rest of this stuff, because he's physically imposing in this context. He'd be physically imposing in the NBA context too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Athlete, size, strength, all those things.
But again, and I think you touched on it earlier with the kind of the Finch Minot stuff. You know this better than anyone, but this team has a defensive mentality, and the front office really believes in bringing in good guys. But if you are not detail oriented and follow all of the minutia of, I mean, what was the phrase Mike Conley kept throwing around in the playoffs last year that became, we were going to put on a shirt? You know what I'm talking about, though.
Shirt?
No, that he had a phrase like I can't remember what the exact phrase was about, like kind of paying attention to detail or having those reps. I think that's kind of why Rob might not have played much last year. Is he just didn't have that. Again, there's a difference between not being a smart person. All these guys are really smart, but not being smart on the court in quick twitch moments and having that understanding of what the team concept is trying to do. And I think that for Leonard is kind of the make or break. Like all these guys that we're talking about, and I think we'll even throw Jaylen Clark into this as we move on. All the guys you were excited to watch today in game one, I thought they all played well. And that's like sigh of relief, because most of these guys are second year guys. And like we talked about this on the ride over, if you're a rookie in summer league, I just don't care. I'm just happy to see you play. But a second year guy, or in Leonard's case, like a third year guy, like
comes with some expectations.
If you have bad games, that's how you become a Shanghai Shark. Like that is bad. And I thought today he gave us a lot of good stuff. It's just now you're kind of nitpicking the bad stuff, because this is the first time, and I still think if Finch plays 9 or 10 guys in October, November, December, Leonard is not one of those 9 or 10 guys. Mm-hmm. But this would be the first time where I think Leonard possibly, like you said, Julius rolls an ankle, Nas gets hurt, has like maybe a light at the end of the tunnel. Like you might be called upon. He was never going to get called upon last year. This year, you might have a chance. And when you do get your number called, you can't have those moments because, Coach Hansen
won't get his number called.
You can't, Coach Hansen was really positive after the game, talking about everyone, but even he kind of slipped up in like, yeah, there's these 3 or 4 times where we needed Leonard to be in this spot and he wasn't there. And maybe that's on me. He's going to have to clean some of that stuff up.
Jaylen Clark, first 2 things I wrote down, for sure an NBA rotation player. And the second thing I wrote down is Jose Alvarado is courtside.
Yeah, sitting right by us.
I was like, dude, that's similar.
Watch
really similar.
On Saturday or even today's game, if you go back and watch it, which would be the most sicko thing of all time. But if you rewatch Game 1 of the Summer League, when Jaylen Clark is out there and the Wolves score a basket, Jaylen Clark sprints to a corner, and that's fucking insane because all he's trying to do is hide, and then he's going to come steal the ball.
Yeah.
And then again, it is Summer League. The Wolves did cover, whatever. It's all about getting reps and experiment. But as Kevin Hansen said after the game, we were down 7, and Jaylen Clark. I asked Kevin Hansen after the game, I was like, is he just have one speed? I mean, kind of knew the answer, but like, does he just go hard? I mean, he gets hit in the face. He's on the ground. He's throwing lobs to himself off the rim, which then turned into a really crafty layup, which I'm pretty sure he would have never seen the court again if that wouldn't have gone in. But he just plays so hard and so physical. And I kind of know where Rob could fit in. I kind of know where Terrence could fit in. I still don't always know where Jaylen's going to fit in because they're not giving him a lot of on ball, like run a couple sets, try to get 6-7 assists. They pretty much want him to be Nikhil with, I think, maybe less playmaking.
I asked Hansen about that at practice this week. I was like, sometimes with these guys that have like a really specific role, like Jaylen did, sometimes they'll have them handle the ball a little bit more in Summer League and maybe create and do different things. I was like, is it that with him, or do you just want him to kind of fine tune the 3-and-D element of his game? He's like, no, this is fine tuning it. And doing that, getting even better, getting even more consistent at what he was pretty consistent in when he played last season. He did have one. The shot is a huge part of him too. For Shannon, Dillingham, and Clark, all these guys that we're talking about potentially being Nikhil replacements, like I don't think any of them are bad shooters, but if they come out and they're in the rotation for a while and it's 10 games and they shoot 30% from 3, that might be the thing that pulls them out of the rotation. And Jaylen, to his credit, so we are giving him the benefit of the doubt, I think at this point, confidently shot 3s last season, 40% on the large handful that he took. There was one of those, TJ got to the middle of the floor, both feet in the paint, big rotated over, kicked it to Jaylen in the corners right in front of where we were sitting. And Jaylen was 0 for 4 from 3 at the time. And instead of taking the open corner 3, he tried to drive into a crowd and get there. And TJ was like, shoot that, JC, and that's going to be a discipline for him too, of like, it doesn't matter if you're 0 for 4. If you're out there and you're playing, like, that's got to be a shot because Finch pulls him if he does that. Finch pulls him if he does that in a game there. So I think it's still, I don't want to say any of those 3 guys is like an open question on their shot because none of them are bad shooters. Rob, Terrence, and Jaylen, but you can't not shoot it either,
right?
And I think there's a little bit of I don't think we could just pencil in Jaylen Clark for 40% from 3 again.
Finished with 8 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, a block. And yeah, to your point, 0 for 5 from 3. I know I just went on this huge tangent about the whole theme of this Summer League is, can these guys shoot? I do want to just have an amendment that I think Jaylen Clark is the one guy that if everyone else around him could shoot,
right, I
don't need him to shoot, if that makes any sense, because I think Terrence and Rob and Johan, like all these guys are showing like that's going to be a really good skill. Jaylen Clark is today one of the better wing defenders in the NBA. Like he is an absolute dog. I don't roll your eyes at this, but he was a team best plus 13, doing a little plus minus in Summer League. But I think that's why I think Finch trusts him, because if Finch tells him what to do, he'll just do it. And there'll be no questions asked. He might not take a shot if he doesn't need to. But that, again, you can't be a 3-and-D guy without the 3. And the difference between, a career arc of like a Josh Okogie to a career arc of maybe like a Nikhil is that ability to make shots. And I think Jaylen Clark, other than the size not being fully there, because Josh is a huge dude, Josh Okogie, but he has Josh's defensive instincts and tenacity and all that stuff. But if he can't consistently at least take those shots, and that's a big thing, by the way. I know it's a little summer league matinee action, but when he didn't take that shot, it's like that's the thing that kills you. And that's the thing that gets your minutes killed. Is like, hey, I know you're 0 for 4. You're not getting paid on that stuff. Like, just let it rip.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Josh Okogie, and I always wanted Josh Okogie to be a screener when he was on the Wolves because he could.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was a big
thing. And so I'm glad you brought it up because unprompted, Hansen brought that up at practice the other day where he's like, not Okogie, but like wanting to use him as a screener because he's a pretty good passer. Like when he straight line drives and stuff, like he actually seems to like see the floor. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of wiggle, when he's going there, but like he catches, reads the floor, and makes decisions. And he was like, I think we'd like to use him as like a short roll guy some of the time. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. To your point, if he's like the one questionable, like Rudy's not out there, right? And it's like Nas and Julius are the bigs and Clark is out there. You could be playing more of a 5-out look and Jaylen could be, setting some screens and being a passer there. I feel very confident in that kid's ability to figure it out.
Yep.
And because while we're kind of talking about a lack of confidence in that 1-3 that we're talking about, I think Jaylen is extremely confident.
He's awesome. Like I'm with you. I mean, on a confidence level, he's not ever going to be 1 because I think number 5 will always have the most confidence on planet Earth. But he is a really confident dude. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if he takes 6 threes on Saturday. Because he also is very hard on himself. And again, I think he knows that too, right? And I was just looking up when you were talking I'm biased because Alvarado was sitting right next to us watching that. They do play such similar games. Jose Alvarado in 4 years shoots 34% from 3, and his first year shot 29%. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's going to be the be all end all that caps Jaylen's ceiling.
I think you're right. Like I think Jaylen could shoot 33% from 3 next year,
and that's enough.
Be like he had a good year. Like because these other thing is he's bringing the defense still consistently. He's been a passer. He's getting some of those straight line drives. Like I don't think the shot is like the be all end all with him, but we have seen him shoot confidently and make shots in a real NBA rotation last season when he was a rookie. So I'm not too concerned about him. I have him down as a NBA rotation player, and if they're getting to 10 guys in the rotation, I think Clark will play and earn those minutes.
It's a lot of guys on this team right now, both the summer league team and also just the big league roster that are really easy to cheer for. But I have a type, and I just like guys that play hard the entire time. And I would imagine as a coach, maybe you do want him to dial it back a little bit every now and then. But I mean, him and Rob had before this infamous off the backboard / rim weird layup. They kind of had that Nikhil Jaden moment against the Nuggets. Remember when they suffocated Jamal Murray? All of a sudden, Rob and Jaylen did that. They suffocate, I think it was Fears, and they get the ball in transition. But yeah, if he's out there, he is going to be a defensive stopper. He is already NBA level defense. Mm-hmm. It's just some of the other stuff. And again, I do think it was noteworthy that as last year was like, Rob, facilitate, get guys involved. This year, Terrence, get guys involved. They don't really want Jaylen to do that. I think that kind of tells you the other stuff that they want him to work on. And I think for him, it's simply just making open threes.
Right. And continuing to do the defensive stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
He just would do on his own because he loves it. And that's like
he smiles when he plays defense. Yeah, it's disgusting. Like it's so cool.
Yeah. Much like Nikhil. This is awesome. Well, we're going to do another one while we're out here, Kyle. The Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez have a press conference tomorrow. On Friday, Wolves play again on Saturday. I think we'll mix in another pod after that second summer league game, or talk a little bit about anything comes from the press conference, and whatever happens in game. They play the Nuggets game 2 in that game there. So appreciate you coming on and doing it. Wow. And look at us. We're done by before 5 o'clock.
We weren't going to do my segment where we compare the players to Vegas table games because I had some good ones, but no, Saturday. Also too because. Maybe you could just touch on this really quick because they played and I wasn't even familiar with one of them, but they have a couple other two-way guys in Rocco who played, I think, 4 minutes. And my biggest takeaway from him is that he is 7'3", but also just like I never got to see Tristan Newton play basketball. He kind of fits like that two-way point guard that if everything else falls apart and Rob and Mike and Ant and Finch and A-Rod are all like off the team, like Tristan can come in and like run the point. Those two guys got a couple minutes tonight, nothing really spectacular, but it was just kind of, if you're a Wolves fan, trying to familiarize yourself with who are these two-way guys, as this team is kind of, you know, has one really open roster spot left. You got to see a little bit of those guys today. And again, nothing flashy, nothing really worth talking about. And then Jesse Edwards as well. Those are kind of the trio of guys that they'll have on the two-way this coming season.
And I think we'll see more of them later in Summer League once maybe
guys
TJ
shut
down. And then that'll be interesting because those, I mean, as of now, Rocco signed and I think Jesse has signed. I don't think Newton has signed. And those can change. Like you can be on it. It's not a guaranteed contract. Like they could sign somebody else instead of Newton to that third spot. But yeah, I'm with you too. We didn't get to know him much less.
If nothing else, it was seeing Rocco in person and then seeing Jesse Edwards, who, you know, I've not always understood what his presence on this roster is, but today I was like, okay, you see him and Johan and Rocco, and you think of Rudy, like, again, just kind of put a pin in it. But the Summer League coach talked about today, moving forward, that maybe this franchise is going to slowly shift to playing faster and having, you know, more wings and type of stuff. I know they just signed Julius and Nas to a $250 million, but I think they want to play faster and they have a lot of rim protection, and they have a Summer League roster that half their guys are 7 foot tall and kind of probably pair well with a attacking scoring guard like Ant. So
couple interesting to have the wanting to push transition and playing faster, and also being like, we added 3 7-footers, you know?
yeah.
And Johan can run, but
I think Jesse Edwards could run a little bit too. Like today he got out in transition. He's fluid a little bit. So
big. He's really big too. You know, he measured same height as Rudy at the combine.
Okay.
Like over 7 feet without shoes. You know, he's really, and then Rocco's insane. I mean, he dunked a blocked Jaylen Clark floater, I think I don't think that was an alley-oop. I think like Jaylen got blocked. And
Jaylen should stop throwing alley-oops. Like just stop throwing the ball to anyone. No, a good, again, 98-91 Wolves win their first game of Summer League. And I think now this is going to start to build up and people are going to be in town. So we have a lot of other stuff. We're literally sitting in the room where they're going to do the press conference tomorrow. So this has been a lot of fun. And again, the biggest thing for me was I just don't want any of these guys to suck. Because I really do think as you get a year of seasoning or 2 years of seasoning, the worst thing you can do is not play well at Summer League. If you're a rookie, you're fine. But I thought all the guys that you really cared about today showed out. And I think a lot of them,
man, that was huge. That was huge that he looked good. That's huge.
Everyone was bullying me about him, just in terms of like how I just had a fucking shit-eating grin on my face the whole time. Because again, being ahead of schedule, that's like such a smart way to put it. But what were your expectations for him as we kind of close this down with how we started? None, right? Like maybe he'll catch a flashy lob, maybe he'll just sell out to get a block. And again, off the top of my head, I don't remember him selling out. I got to pivot. I got to protect this side. I got to help side, you know? And then he was just in the dunker spot a lot. And that's the reps, right? Like that's where he needs to play more with Ant and Mike and all these guys. But he was as good as advertised today for the 17th overall pick in a really good draft.
Let's go watch Cooper Flag.
Let's do it. Bronny James.
Until Saturday with Kyle. He's Kyle. I'm Dane. Peace out.
How I'm feeling, man, I hope it never stop, yeah. Green and hot so you can find me in the crowd, yeah. Don't let standards ever bring you down, yeah.